Okay guys, time for another tutorial. I remember that in one of the previous lessons we talked about variable types, and then I told you, okay, you need to consider the size of the variable and pick the right type. But what if you change your mind and still want to convert from one type to the other? Well, let's see. Integer number 1 equals to 1, and then we have something like long, and then we have number 2, then we have something like some big number. If I try to assign number 1 to number 2, it works. But what if I try to do the other operation? Well, you cannot do this because, let's see, there cannot implicitly convert long to int. Okay, so in the first case, the C# knows we are doing something called implicit conversion. So we are going from one type to another without any problems. But in this case, we are doing something like, or trying to do something like called explicit conversion. In order to do this, are you missing a cast? What is a cast? Well, cast is this. But let's see what happens in the first case and what happens in the later case. So number 2, we run this. It's okay. But what will happen in the later case? I already showed you something similar, so you might be prepared for the answer. Of course, I need to output number 1 instead of number 2. Some strange number. Why? Because by converting from long to int, we're going over the limit of integer. So let's see what else can we do. What about going from some string to a number? Number 3 equals to, let's say, 1. Or let's change it to something more meaningful, like say 100. And then let's try to do number 1 equals to number 3. Well, we'll get an error again. Let's see if we can do something like string. Sorry for the mistake. Well, cannot convert string to int. Well, how to do it? Well, there is something called convert. And then we want to convert to this one, and then we take in number 3. And let's output this. Number 1, then run it. It's okay. Of course, you have to be careful, because if I type in something like this, we get some error because the string is in some other format. There is of course one more way to convert from one type to the other. It's called parsing, and then we have something like parse, and then we have something like let's try to parse number 2. Well, we cannot do this because why? Because parse expects some string. Okay, let's see what happens here. Number 3. Let's run it. Again, input was not, the string was not in the correct format. What will happen here? It's okay. So it seems like convert and parse look quite similar, but you know, you have much greater freedom with convert. What else can I show in this example? Well, in order to avoid this exception, you can use something like called try parse, and then let's try one more time. Of course, try parse returns a boolean, so first this is incorrect. We need to introduce something called boolean, and then change the type to bool, and then we need some second parameter, and we need let's say result, and then I'll put it there. So the output will go to result here, and the return of the operation will go here. So in essence, we can simulate multiple return values. But let's see what happens. First, there is this syntax that I will use to output both the boolean and both the result. So first we have something like boolean, we have let's say outcome of the conversion, and then we have something like the result itself, which is result, and close this and then run. Outcome false, and then we have 0. This minus is just me forgetting to type the space. So, of course, if we remove this, it's okay. And one last thing, we need something like string, or rather long to string. So we can have number 2, and then we have something like to string, and then we have something like this. So number 1 has also this like number 1, and then we have to string. So this comes from the base class, but I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can always use this to string. So let's see what happens here. Of course, this will work as expected, but Let's give it. Okay, seems fine. But now that we have converted this long to string, we might remove, let's say, some zeros, and there are some fun programming challenges where you need to convert between types. Let's say I have this one, and then I want to count how many digits the number has. So sometimes it's convenient to convert from number to string and then count, or do some string manipulation and then convert back to long. But of course, you don't want to have some characters like this, because you will have some error. Now I think this lesson covers everything about conversion, so that's all for now. Thanks for watching.